I will call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Calvin?
Here.
Gonzalez? Here. Stacy here? Here. Monzo?
Here.
Novak?
Here.
Pelletier here. Kuzo? Here. We have approval of the regular board meeting minutes for July 12th, 2018. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 12th, 2018.
Second.
Any questions, corrections? All those in favor of approving the minutes?
I have a question. Sorry, I was trying to read my handwriting and I couldn't. On the part about the, we made an amendment to the annual, to the approval of the annual service agreement between Morton Grove Public Library and Midwest Mechanical, and there was an amendment, there was an amendment, but it's not spelled out here, should it have been spelled out?
We can go back and change that, but
Just
indicate that the amendment was to change the contract
Yeah.
dates, because there was an error.
I know it was a minor nothing, I
Yeah.
remember that.
We can fix that, you can go ahead, we'll fix that if you wanna approve the minutes
Yeah,
as
approve the
amended, and we
minutes.
can get them signed and we'll get them corrected.
I just figured it should be
Yep.
in there
We'll
because
make
we
note of
mentioned
that.
it.
Okay. Do we make a new motion then,
Move we approve the.
as amended?
Mhm.
Okay. So, a motion to approve the minutes July 12th, 2018 as amended, or as will be amended.
Second. Oh, we did. Fourth.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Public comments, agenda items only. All right. President report, I don't think I have
Is
anything.
it? I don't know. Did you wanna make any comments? Okay.
Electric lights.
I can check. I don't think I have anything from president report. Committee reports, finance.
Okay, here we go. Cash statement, we start with that one. Any questions? I had a question on the petty cash, just so you know, but we need a resolution to transfer that money. Not all of it, but everything but like, say, $2,000 into, when we don't have the resolution yet, so. It's like maybe,
In October, we'll have a
we'll
resolution.
have a resolution.
Yeah, as for the auditor, they would like to see a resolution.
Paper trail. We discussed it, but we never came up, we never did the resolution.
Oh,
So-
okay, we
so-
did a resolution, I think, sometimes, but yeah, we just need to do it every time we transfer the money.
Oh, I gotcha,
Yeah.
okay. So it has to be put in the minutes, that resolution to transfer that money.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay,
So that will be on the actual report meeting.
okay. My next thing is PMA, if anybody. That's pretty much the same, except Pam told me that their CD, the one at the top, that will be due October 1st. Usually she reinvests it, but she's not going to, she's going to take that and just keep it in the general fund till the end of the year.
Is there-
Just in
I don't
case.
want to jinx us.
We We should be fine, but just as we approach the end of the year and there's no more tax monies coming in until tax money starts coming in February, March of the new year, I'm keeping that as cash on hand, just in case we need to, with the carryover. I don't anticipate that we'll have to use that at all, but I always like to leave ourselves some room, just in case.
The income statement, any questions? We're pretty much on course.
I was just curious, what falls now, since you separated the vending from the miscellaneous, under that miscellaneous income? Just a couple.
Things that we sell at the circulation desk, like the Keurig cups, we've been selling the t-shirts, those kinds of things,
Okay.
anything that's extra, that we would get money.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
The check register, this is for, 2 months, I guess, from July 1st to August 31st, it's quite so big. Checks 2607 and 2608, it just looked, those numbers are not there. And that's because they were printed on, because they were going to take them out of the printer. So, a lot of the Pam's mother was printing out.
It was the check register. The check register was printed on the check.
Okay. There's a voided check 2645 to small potatoes. The reason is that it's the wrong amount. If you look on the last page, the last item, 2685 is the correct amount, so it was just voided because it's an incorrect amount.
I have a question that probably has been this way every year, every time, but I didn't notice it till this time. The column that says cash account, the number under it, should that not be the accounts that the checks are written for? I don't know what 1011 is. Or
That's
10
just our general operating account. So 10 is, the first 10 means it's coming out of the operating reserve, not reserves, but the operating account. So if you ever see something come out of 20, that's like a special reserve account.
I see.
The account 1011 is just our overall operating account.
Because everything's done from there.
Yeah, and our general ledger, we break down, each of these have been coded to the correct account in the
That's
general
why I
ledger.
probably never noticed it before.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
it's
how
in
we've
there.
always done it this way.
And on the bills too, it's got the different account numbers.
Yeah,
on it.
when Carlotta comes in and approves the bills, and when I approve the bills, their specific accounts are
On the
given to them.
invoices. All right, any more questions?
What's a Spanish tricycle?
Amy's tricycle is the new book bike.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
There's a picture in here somewhere.
It's right there.
$25.99 was voided?
I'm sorry?
$25.99 was voided? That just belonged on together.
Was $25.99 in the check voids that you gave me, Blanche?
No, it's because Midwest takes, when I run the, check, there's a lot more,
There's a lot of,
It's an extra,
invoices, there's
because
that
the memo field is too long, it goes into two memo
Oh,
fields.
okay.
So, yeah, that's,
Okay, that makes sense.
yes.
it's always, for the most part, it's always Midwest paid,
Yeah.
right, Joanne?
Right.
Yeah, because if you look right above, Midwest is it's a pretty high bill, so,
Uh-huh.
when we pay all those bills at once, but we list them all out by invoice number, so it goes into two checks oftentimes.
Any more questions?
Motion to approve.
Can I approve it?
You're presenting it usually, so.
Yeah.
So Eric made,
A motion to approve.
And I seconded it. Okay, Gonzalez,
Yes.
Masajan,
yes.
Monson,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Kuzo. Yes. Calmac,
Yes.
okay.
Facilities, we're gonna walk through next month still. Policy, we did meet, beginning of August, but I think we will talk about those later.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, so the policy, that we
Down under
can
new business.
review, you're down under the new business, so yeah, we'll get to that. Staff reports.
So in addition to my written report, I just want to bring the board up to date where we were at with the migration to CCS, or the joining CCS and migration to Polaris, the new integrated library system, which is what ILS stands for. So on July 25th, we were officially voted into CCS as not quite full members yet, because we have not yet migrated to Polaris and joined for the catalog. We're actually beginning migration activities next week. Jeff, Helga, and I are meeting with CCS staff next week. The extraction of all of our records from Cersei Dynex will be done by October 8th. The training database will be loaded by November 5th, November and December. We will do staff training and data testing. And then our tentative go-live date with the new catalog system would be mid-January. So things kind of didn't happen for a while after we got voted into CCS, and now all of a sudden things will be happening pretty quickly over the next few months. But I think we're getting a pretty good handle on everything, and CCS staff so far have been really great to work with, and all the other member libraries are really super excited to see us join, and so have been really willing to reach out and say whatever help we need. So I think that this should go as relatively smoothly as these things can. Change is always hard for some people, but we think that should go pretty well. We'll start doing some publicity, a big publicity push probably will start mid-October through November, December, that kind of thing. So we've got a number of things planned. Related to that, I think the board may remember me talking about Rails potentially giving us some funds to migrate, or to join CCS and to migrate to Polaris. I'm in the process of completing that grant application for Rails. I'm asking for $28,000, which will cover a good portion of what we would have to pay to migrate. I don't know at this point how much we'll get. Some of it will depend on if there's other libraries that are trying to join other LSAPs and that kind of thing. But that grant application is due October 17th, and I'm almost done with it right now. So I would like to have it done by next week because I'll be on vacation after that. But fingers crossed that we'll be able to get a good portion of the money that we're asking for from Rails. The other thing, just to let the board know, I am going to be going on vacation for a couple of weeks, September 22nd through October 8th. I will actually be out of the country, but I should have access to email. In my absence when she's here, Natalia usually serves as acting director. She may take a few days off during that time as well, and the department heads will serve as a team if you should need to contact anyone. But as I said, I should have access to email during that time. I'm coming back from Rome on October 8th, plan to be back in the library, have to be back in the library October 9th to get the board packets done because our next board meeting is October 11th. So I may be tired, but I'll be here. So, but like I said, I do anticipate I'll have access to email during that time. So if anything comes up, I should be able to be contacted.
It'll come in Italian, so.
The time of year too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be exhausted. We're starting in Venice, we're gonna do an Adriatic cruise, we're gonna go to Dubrovnik and Montenegro and Italy, and then we're gonna spend a few days in Rome afterwards, so. It's been planned for several months now, so it's a little, all of a sudden it's like, this is not the best time, but we'll make it work, so it'll be fun. But I just wanted to let the board know that and let you know that Natalia would be the person to contact, and I'll send you an email at the end of next week just to, remind everyone and give you the contact information of every other department. I don't think there's anything else to my written report unless anyone has any questions. I don't know if you saw the new banners that are outside. I think they look really nice. The two the village provided, the ones that are hanging on the light poles, and then we bought 2 extras. They were really relatively inexpensive, so we thought they'd be nice for the front pillars, especially for our event this Saturday. We're having a front porch concert, so that should look really nice. Does anyone have any questions about the report this month, or what my report, or any of the department head reports?
How's the staff been transitioning with
Going to Polaris?
Going to Polaris, yeah.
I think they're okay. Changes can be hard. We have a number of staff, circulation staff in particular, that also work part-time at other area libraries, and almost every library within a 10-mile radius is already in CCS. So they're already familiar with it, and they've all said to me individually, like, oh, they're super excited, this will be great, that kind of thing. I think the biggest change will be in the actual workflow, as more so than, that will be some of our bigger challenges, as more so than, making the software work. Because we're going from being a standalone library to being part of the consortium, the number of books that we'll get in, a book delivery every day, that's gonna completely change. We're looking at changing kind of the way that the circ department, how that whole workflow is set up right now. We're looking at redoing that completely. So that, I think, is gonna be the bigger deal. And Jeff and I have been talking to his staff already for quite a while now, because we knew that this was a direction we wanted to go in. So I think there'll be some adjustments, certainly, but we've been talking to everyone to let them know, as much as we can tell at this point, what the potential changes will be. So, I think the big thing that, we continually try to remind staff that may be struggling with it, and most of them are fine, but that this is really to the benefit of our patrons. And that's, that's why we're here, was to serve the patrons. So there'll be some challenges, but I think that the staff will step up and meet them. So. I think that's true, don't you, Jeff? Yeah. Anything else with my report?
Corporate counsel.
Nothing official from Frank, though, as you may have noticed in my emails to you, I have been copying Frank and forwarding information to him regarding the 6200 Lincoln Avenue building, just so that he's kept up to date with what's going on. So when and if we need to have him come in and assist, he's got the background. So yes, nothing official from him, but he's been kept in the loop as far as that goes.
Okay, so unfinished business, we're at committee appointments.
So I think the committee appointments are fairly stable right now. The only thing is that Lima has not been assigned a committee appointment, or if she's interested in being on a committee, there was room for her on either finance, facilities, or policy, if you would be interested in any of those. Let the president know if you are interested in joining.
So which ones?
Finance, facilities, and policy. So, finance usually meets the right before the regular board meetings. Policy meets once a quarter, and facilities meets
Sometimes.
One of them.
as per the bylaws, facilities should meet 2 times a year. We're trying to get back on schedule with that. So, but the finance and policy meet more frequently, and then the executive committee is the officers.
You can definitely think about it.
Yeah, I would like to think about it.
That's fine. And the explanation of what the committees do, Lima, is actually should be in your binder. And if you have any questions about that, you can always ask me or Emily. I'm sure would be happy to check it out.
6200 Lincoln Avenue update.
So we have received a couple of offers. Discussing. It's up to the board if you would like to discuss this in open session or an executive session, the offers and potential counter offers. That is one of the discussion items that can be discussed in closed session if you so choose. You do not have to. So I wanted to leave it up to the board what you wanted to do in terms of discussing the authors.
Anybody feel strongly one way or another?
I don't mean for a closed session, but that's, I mean, in executive session, at least for serving on a vote, I mean, that's gotta be open anyway.
Yeah, the vote would have to be in
That's fine.
open
That's
session,
gotta be
so,
disclosed
yes.
fully.
Mhm.
But in terms of discussions, especially since there's two competitive buyers, and any discussion on an offer is gonna be obviously open to the public, I would probably, yes, my recommendation would be in closed session, but that's.
To go in closed session.
That's my-
It doesn't matter to me, we just need
Whichever
to
everyone
table
else-
that, and, or not table that, but move that to closed session.
If everyone else wants to do an open session, I have no opposition to it, it was just.
No, perspective is always good, so. What is everyone, should we, does everyone feel more comfortable if we move it to closed session?
I think Eric has a point. I would agree.
Okay.
Should I just make a motion then to,
You don't,
do you go into it now, or do you do it? leave it
I
at the
would
end?
recommend that we do it at the end, and
Okay,
that way.
So, table for
yeah.
now,
Mhm,
and, okay.
mhm, mhm, until the, further on the agenda, and then we can move on to the new
Okay.
business.
Okay, so we're at new business then, policy committee, recommendations. So the first one we have is the investment policy. This is one of the longer ones.
Financial.
But yes, yes.
This little background of this policy was actually prepared by our, the company that we use for our investments, PMA. They do a lot of work with other public entities, and so this is a fairly standard policy that they created for us that's, mirrored in a number of other, public organizations, public
We
institutions.
had this before.
Mhm, mhm.
Has it changed?
It has not changed.
That's what
Yeah.
it was before.
Yeah.
This is the third.
Yeah, this is the original one.
Yeah, that's what I
so-
thought.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
just
and
wanted to make sure.
it's not changed at all, but for the newer members of the board, this was.
Company did a good
It
job.
sounds perfect to me.
Okay.
Not one extra word in here.
I did add a couple of periods, I
Right,
made a few
right,
punctuation
that's true.
changes.
Editor, it's,
Okay. So we,
why would we vote on all of them at once unless
Okay.
there's a problem with one of them?
yeah,
You can do it either way, if you want to wait to do them all at once, or I think that's fine.
Yeah, but she doesn't have to write.
yeah.
How did game on that one, guys?
You still have to list them all
All
out,
right.
so, yeah.
Okay, then we have, the more of a public library, public comment policy.
I was wondering why could it and should it or shouldn't it be combined with the exhibit and display policy, because they're practically identical.
I would not combine them, they're
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 different.
different.
Okay, it was just a thought.
Yeah, I would keep them
I was
separate.
trying to save a piece of paper.
I would keep them separate.
I would too, I just, because they were so similar, I would just thought I'd bring it up.
So any public comment then, if someone has a public comment, which is at the end of the agenda, they have to submit it in writing?
No.
Via mail or email?
Where do you?
Well, public comments and questions can be submitted to, it says can be.
Right, they
submitted,
can be.
So they don't have to be.
No, or they can speak to it.
Speak with it. Okay,
Yeah, we'll
so I
accept
need
it
to know,
either anyway.
Because some boards you have to submit it,
Which actually
prior.
has been determined to not be legal.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
okay,
yeah.
just wanna make sure that we're not. Okay.
Yeah, so basically it's saying public comments can come to any of the trustees at any time via email, via speaking at a meeting.
Correct,
via
can.
Finding you in the
Yeah.
grocery store.
It's happened, actually.
Any other questions about the public comment policy? Then we have the exhibit and display policy.
So the only thing that I would point out about this policy is that when this is posted on our website, we will have links to, there's an exhibit and display form that we require people to fill out, like if they want to hang their artwork in the Baxter room, that for example, those links will be live. They're not indicated on here, but those will be live links when this is posted on our website.
Well, why isn't it on here saying that those links are on the website?
It says
Well, it'll
include
say
links.
include
It
links.
says
to
Include
exhibits.
exhibits.
Yeah, I just made a note for you.
okay,
Yeah,
got it.
once these are approved, then when I send this to Karina to post on the website, we actually put the links.
Okay. That's fine, gotcha.
And then we have the public posting policy.
So this policy, it pertains more to our bulletin board space, so as opposed to hanging our work or that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Okay. Should we approve those policies and then go on to the policy schedule?
I would, because those are the ones on the survey. You would, as a policy committee, you're recommending to the board that they approve.
Right. Technically, I won't make a motion.
So do we make a motion for each one, right, though? Even though,
You can make a motion to approve the policies as presented, but in the motion, we'll have to list out the name of each policy, but you don't have to vote on each one separately, you can vote on them
as
as a group.
presented, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the policies as presented, 5 policies as presented.
Is there 5?
There's
There's
4, and then there's
Oh,
an
okay.
Oh,
updated.
And then the schedule set, yeah.
I'll second it. Okay, Mason,
Yes.
Monzo,
Yes.
Ruvik,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Puzo? Yes. Calhoun,
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Okay, so then we have an updated policy review schedule.
So this is just for your information, and indicates a change. There will not be a policy committee meeting in October. So the next policy committee meeting will be January 7th, and so I just updated the review, or this schedule with our latest reviews and with the next scheduled meetings and policies.
Then we have the library card registration policy again.
So that, I was separate because this actually was, an Illinois law was amended, passed, that updated the, non-resident property owner card policy. So, as with all of our policies, statute always trumps our policies, so we needed to change our policy to reflect the change in statute. On the library card use registration policy, I have crossed out what was our old non-resident property owner card policy and included the verbiage that the department heads and I agreed upon, that is based on the new Illinois statute, which says that it used to be that only property owners could get a library card, the actual tax holders, but they have expanded that so it can either be property owners or leaseholders, business leaseholders. So for example, if there was 3 businesses in one building, the old law used to say only the property owner could get a card. Now it says any of those 3 commercial leaseholders can get a card.
Okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the businesses.
Mhm. So this change reflects that statute.
So is there a motion to be made since that was, I just,
I would make a motion to approve that, though it doesn't matter if you agree, we have to follow the law.
exactly. Okay.
But the policy is being rewritten and we're
Well, I'll
changing
make
it
a motion to
officially.
approve the library card policy.
And I will second it. No.
I do nothing. Around facilities, I do nothing.
Monzone,
Yes.
Kovic,
Yes.
Montier, yes, Guzzo. Calnick,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr.
Yes. Now we're at Board of Trustee elections.
So, all of the trustees that need to run for re-election or election to finish out a position for which you were appointed received the candidates guide. I have highlighted the relevant sections, though I would strongly encourage you to read through it and make sure, I don't think I missed anything, but just to be sure that you understand what is needed. As I said in my memo to each of you, with this is if for some reason you don't think you are going to run for re-election or won't run to the fully appointed term, let me know. I will also be posting this on the library's website, and we'll have packets at the information desks in case there's interested parties that may want to run for one of the potentially open board positions. So, hopefully it won't be me and Emily sitting here in May. Of 2019, not looking at each other. But, you know, if you review this, if you have any questions about anything, let me know. I would say if you have election-specific questions, the person to talk to would be the Village of Warren Grove clerk, because that's actually who you'll file with, or Cook County, which would be, there's the Statement of Economic Interest needs to be filed with them. But I would say review this. You can start collecting signatures on the 18th. You only need 25. And then the actual
But I have a
filing.
question. Public library district.
We're not a district.
Okay,
Turn it over, turn the page over.
yeah,
So that's why it's
just wanted to
highlighted.
make sure.
Oh, I
I
was like, you
saw that
highlighted
highlight,
it, how nice.
and then I'm going, oh,
No,
she
we
said
are not a
25,
district, we are a
and
municipal
okay.
library. We're a village library, so anything that you see for district does not apply to us. So those pages are highlighted. So you need 25 signatures, you can start the 18th. I did give you a few extra blank petition pages. And filing date is December 10th through the 17th.
Right.
So,
It says on here, these are the things you need, of which I separated because there's so much in there. It's
I know,
crazy.
I know.
The library.
The receipt for the filing of a
The
statement
library
of
can
economic
notarize.
interest.
Yes, the library can notarize, Blanche is a notary, so she can notarize your sheets if you need that done by her. And then, I'm sorry, then.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
receipt for filing of a statement of economic interest.
Mhm.
I can't find that in here. Now,
So-
is that once you file it? I can't remember.
So you actually have to go to Cook County, like, go to Skokie Courthouse, and fill out a statement of economic interest. They give you a receipt, and
that
your
has to
receipt
go
is what you
with
actually put
At
your.
the courthouse, but not at the village.
that.
No,
No, the courthouse.
And I
Remember
believe that
we
it
do this
explains that.
specifically, yes.
It talks about where you need, that needs to be done at the county level, and you don't have to go to Chicago. You can do
But
it
you
at
file
the-
everything
Right,
else
exactly.
at the village.
Yes.
yes.
Your whole packet is
That's
filed
right.
at the village,
Right.
but that piece of paper has to come from the county.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So like I said, next week I'll be I'll put a couple of packets together at the info desk, and we'll also have information online. So,
Hope to see you all back here in May. All right. Fine-free proposal.
okay, so this is a big change for us. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, the department heads and I. There are a number of libraries that are starting to do this. What you had in your packets, and hopefully in front of you, and you had a chance to read it over, is a proposal written by Jeff, and Jeff has joined us tonight in case there's any questions that either he or I can answer. That I had indicated that would be effective January 1, but should the board approve to go fine-free, we probably would not do that until we actually migrated to Polaris, given that that's going to happen in mid-January anyway. Basically, what we're proposing is that we eliminate overdue fines. That does not mean we will be eliminating fees for, lost or damaged materials, anything like that. It would simply be those overdue fines that are 15 cents a day. If you read through Jeff's background, research has shown that the nominal fines that we charge people typically are not what encourage people to return material. It's more their civic duty. One of the things that the libraries, one of the big reasons libraries choose to do this is to eliminate a barrier to service. What research has shown is that once people get above a certain threshold, that they don't come back to the library, and they see those fines as punitive, and rather than return to the library, they just don't come back. And so what we're trying to eliminate is those barriers to service and encourage people to return to us if they've had fines that they haven't been able to pay, and also so that someone isn't penalized for, checking out 10 children's books and they're 3 days overdue, and then all of a sudden they've hit our fine threshold. Research has also shown that most books are returned within the first 7 days of being overdue. About 88% of items are returned within the first week of their due date. So we don't anticipate that this should have any impact on people returning materials. We expect that to continue to happen, and that they'll continue to return them either on time or shortly thereafter. I think that the other thing that we have been seeing over the past several years is that if you look on page 3 of Jeff's proposal, that the fine income has gone down every year since 2013. So this year, for the end of 2018, I anticipate the fine revenue to be about $18,000, $18,500. Next year, we were already planning on doing automatic renewals, which we had discussed and the board had approved. And what libraries that have gone to automatic renewals have seen is fine revenue dropping by at least 40% anyway. So we would anticipate that even without going fine-free, the fine revenue next year, should the board not approve this, would only be about half of this, so probably about $9,000. So as Jeff has pointed out, and you can see as we talk about the budget, I actually did prepare the budget assuming that we would be fine-free. Right now, fines only count for 0.5% of our overall budget, and in fact, a little bit less than that. So it's not.
I may have read it and just made it cut right by. If somebody's put a hold on a book, it's out. Is there anything done and they're not returning it?
We don't have a mechanism in place right now for that. So if that happens, what we do is we run reports to see if there's holds on books that are overdue. And if it becomes long overdue, we'll either purchase another copy, we'll try to get something from interlibrary loan, so we'll try to handle it that way. We don't currently really have a mechanism in place for that, and Jeff can speak to that a little bit
Does
more.
that happen?
So that's always been that was one of my fears of going fine free, was what do you do with the new books that have holes on them? But libraries that have gone free have not seen a significant difference in wait lists for new books.
Okay.
And it's kind of, I mentioned in the proposal too, so nominal fees don't really make a difference for people returning materials on time. Right now, overdue charge for a new book is 15 cents a day. I've literally had patrons come to me at the desk, ask to renew a book, they still have a couple days left to read it, or they still need a couple days left to finish it. I'm like, oh no, sorry, there's a hold on it, we can't renew this for you. They're like, okay, I'll keep it and pay the 60-cent fine. And I'm assuming this occurs at most libraries
I would
as
assume.
well. So like I said, most libraries, the libraries that I've researched and I've kind of reached out to and talked to said they haven't really seen a significant difference in the wait list of books like that. But you're either going to return it on time or you're going to return it a couple of days late, like people do now. The 50, to me, it seems like the 15-cent fine isn't really a reason why people are forcing themselves to return it on time. It's like Pam was saying, the civic duty. You realize there's something else that has a hole on it. You're going to try to finish it within a 2-week time period so the next person can have it.
Is there a
Okay.
text or email that's sent saying your library book is overdue, or
Yes.
your library book is due in 2 days?
So yeah, right now you're gonna get a pre-due notice before the item is due, letting you
Okay.
know that the book is
So there
due.
will be notice.
Yeah, you're gonna get a pre-due notice and you're gonna get a overdue notice. When we migrate over to Polaris, I believe the overdue notice comes at 2 days. And you'll be able to receive it by text, email,
Okay.
phone call.
Okay,
So they will get adequate notice that something is overdue.
okay,
And I also mentioned in my proposal too, there'll still be procedures in place to where somebody doesn't return a material on time to block the account. And then at a certain point, if it's not returned after 35, 45 days, we can bill them. So currently, we have a max fine threshold of $15. Generally, most people hit that threshold after around 2 weeks. I reached out to a couple libraries, 2 of them, I think Vernon area and Algonquin. Automatically, if the item isn't returned after 2 weeks, the patron's account is blocked.
could I ask, when you say block, does that mean they cannot check another book out?
They cannot
Is
check
that
another
what that
book.
means?
Exactly. They won't be able to check a book out, place a book on hold, use any of our e-online resources, or use any of the other CCS libraries, because once we're in CCS, everybody's record will be connected in the ILS. So they'll be essentially blocked at every library in the area except for
Oh,
Skokie.
okay, I was gonna ask that too.
So they won't be able to go to another library and check out. They'll be blocked
Yeah,
pretty much
we'll
everywhere.
share one large patron database, and so all the other libraries will be able to see that our patron is blocked, and so it's not like they can go library hopping,
Right.
so.
So essentially, my argument for going fine-free was, right now, we kind of already have the similar procedures in place to get our materials back, but the people who actually get affected the most are the common user, who may just be a couple days late. One of my examples I put is, a lot of times we have families, they check out 5 movies, 5 video games, it's $1 a day, you're 2 days late for 10 items, that's $20 right there. And those are the kind of people that may not come back for a $20 fine. That could be, that could be a dinner for a family.
Right, right.
So what I want to do is to not penalize those kind of users while keeping in place similar procedures that we have now to get the materials back.
Thank you. As long as they're notified that in some way or another, you know, that it's
You know,
going
I've
through.
had a number of books out and I got a notification.
Okay.
Yeah, so all of our same policies and procedures will stay in place. The only thing that we'll be getting rid of is the fines. We'll still be sending the pre-overdue notices, the overdue notices, sending them to, billing them if something's long overdue or damaged, that kind of thing. So all those things will still sit in
In a
place.
time like what we're living through, we're countrywide, and books are coming out that we know are coming out, like Fear came out. Does the library address that at all? Try to?
In terms of,
Getting copies
Oh, yeah.
when they know that books like that are coming?
yeah, the librarians are, our professional staff is in charge of collection development, and they do a really good job of anticipating, when we can, anticipating high demand for items and buying enough copies so that we don't have, long hold lists and that kind of thing. And then if we do notice that something's, getting a hold list, because we run a number of reports throughout the week, is there books that are overdue that have holds? Are there, what is our hold, we run reports based on the ratio, how many holds per item, that kind of thing, and when they get above a certain level, we buy additional copies. So we work very hard to make sure that we're maintaining as much access
Yeah.
as possible. So, I tell the librarians all the time, I said, we're a popular materials library, and it's really, it's our role to make sure that we have the things that people want to read. So that's where our collection development dollars go.
Is this gonna be put on the website that there will be no more fines charged, or is it just something we're going to do and?
It we were talking about putting it in the B&B possibly if it got approved.
So- Yeah, if the board approves it, we'll tie this into our migration to the new catalog system, because all those things would happen at the same time.
Okay.
So essentially
People
go out
will be
like
aware.
mid-January.
Yeah, so when we start doing publicity for the migration to the new catalog system is when we would also start publicizing this, if the board should approve it.
And another interesting thing too is Algonquin, they only allow Algonquin patrons to have the fine-free capability. So they're in CCS as well. So if we were worried about, say, other reciprocal borrowers coming in and trying to take advantage of our fine-free policy, we can limit it to only Morton Grove residents to receive
Which is
the.
probably what we would do.
Yeah.
Since it's just a policy that we want to It would be a perk for our residents,
Okay.
because we're saying, you know, you're already paying taxes into the Warren Grove Public Library, so we're limiting that particular perk to Warren Grove
And
residents.
then you put a subtitle, this is only for libraries that stay small. Those who've been around a while, went through the, we want a big library era of Morton Grove.
Fines fines are, they can be touchy, but, you know, if you look at really just the data, it's, you know, it's not a big moneymaker for us, and
Right, well, then I call the question, so that means we vote.
Do I write it that way, call the question, or do we, are you saying?
there was not a motion.
There's no-
There was no motion, so someone does need to make a motion before the vote can be called.
I'll make a motion to approve the fine-free proposal.
Second.
What is it called? Fine.
With the amendments.
Okay, let's see. No.
No,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I really didn't hear.
Peltier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Calmack?
Yes? Is that with the amendment
Yes.
that he just said? Only for Morton Grove residents?
So I was gonna say, we're gonna probably have to come up with the policy if you guys approve it, so that could
So this
be
is a
in the
proposal.
policy.
This is
Yeah,
just-
this is just a
yeah.
proposal, so we will have to come up with a policy.
Oh, policy first, then amendment.
We're approving
Yeah.
the proposal, they're gonna write it out, and then we'll discuss it
Okay.
more. Yeah.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I'll hit him if he's not.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.
Monzo?
Yes.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Mr.
Jeff.
you're welcome to stay, or if you have other messages, you can.
We're pretty done.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
You can go to bed now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, so we're at the 2019 budget, the first reading.
First.
So, do you want me to talk?
Yes, please.
As I have done in previous years, you have the 2019 budget draft. Excuse me, I have that for I pickle with them. And the 2019 budget notes. Taking a look at the budget itself, the spreadsheet. As you can see, every levy scenario that I gave, I did assume that the fine-free would pass, thinking that if it didn't, that was just extra money that we would add back in. So that is already taken into account for each of my levy scenarios. Unlike previous years, I don't have a recommendation for the board, though I did present several different, again, levy increase scenarios. No increase, and then 1%, 1.5%, 1.75%, and 2% increases in the levy. And the levy is the property tax receipts. That's the amount that we send to the village and ask them to levy for us. So, does anyone have any specific questions before I start talking about each budget line? Or do you want to just kind of, so, so we can talk about the different levy requests maybe in a bit, but let's start with the expense lines. Salaries, the non-exempt and exempt salaries are slightly different than they were this year. Some of that is because we are looking at the creation of that new media/marketing position, which would be an exempt salary. Non-exempt wages have decreased because of staff retirements or staff leaving and not filling those positions. So, and then some anticipated changes in hours for the maintenance department, because we are looking to outsource cleaning service as well. We've already outsourced landscaping, and we are looking at outsourcing. We're putting out an RFP for cleaning service probably next week. So, so those numbers have changed a little bit, but this projected budget line does also include a 2.5% salary increase pool. What that means is that each of the department heads will receive a certain amount of money based on what their current salaries are, and they have the, then they let me know how they want to apportion out those different raises and stuff. But this assumes a 2.5 salary increase pool. So the good news is that this amount, those two lines added together, is actually less than what I had, what was budgeted for this year. So it's a slight decrease in salaries overall, so that's always positive.
Why are you including, if we outsource maintenance and we outsource landscaping, why is that included in the salary? Isn't that included like in a vendor? And he's gonna charge us whatever.
Those things happen in two different places. So right now we always have maintenance staff.
Right, I get that, so you're
Okay.
still
So
always
there-
gonna
there's
have the
still-
maintenance staff.
Right, so there's maintenance staff that need to be paid.
Hmm.
The cost for those, outsourcing those services is under another budget line.
Oh, okay, I thought you said it was under this, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm going.
No, those would not be considered salaries
Salaries.
because that we don't, those people don't
Right.
work for us.
Correct,
So,
correct.
yeah, that's
okay.
under another budget line.
Okay.
Now, does this, at this level, does this keep us somewhat competitive with neighboring libraries?
We're getting better. One of the things that I had talked about doing in 2019, and so is included in my budget this year, and I know I talked about it at the end of last year, that I wanted to do it in the next couple of years, was having a formal compensation study done. And they will look at area libraries of similar size, geographically, other types of businesses where some of those skill sets are similar, that kind of thing, and then give us some benchmarking, or benchmarks that we can look at, decide how we want to treat that, if we need to raise the salaries, kind of as a whole, or how we want to treat that. Some of that will also include discussions with the board about kind of what is our compensation philosophy. Do we want to stay competitive with area libraries? Are we okay with being maybe, the salaries maybe aren't as good, but maybe we're paying for more of the benefits, because we're very generous in terms of paying for health insurance benefits at Morton Grove. We always have been, at least for the next couple of years. I anticipate that would be the same. So some of that's kind of how the board wants to approach that philosophically. But this does get us much closer than we've ever been before in terms of our neighboring libraries. So I'm very conscious of I'm always looking at like the Rails job board and that kind of thing, and looking at how, what other libraries are paying for different positions and trying to keep that in mind. One of the things that I've done at the end of this year, because we've had some extra money in those two, and the exempt and non-exempt salary lines because of people leaving and different things like that, I've started to make some salary adjustments to kind of bring people up to more closely match either area libraries or to, as we've gotten new staff come in that maybe have asked for a little bit more, to kind of make sure that everyone's being paid comparable to either people that are doing a similar job or that kind of thing. So I'm working very hard to try to bring us up there, because we want to continue to be able to attract and retain great librarians. I mean, we have a great staff. That's what makes this library so good. So I'm working hard to do that. So we're a little bit closer.
The way the salaries are being presented, it tells me that salary is not affected by income at all. It's, no matter what our income is, the salaries are gonna stay as predicted.
Well, we're a service organization, and it is not uncommon for libraries to spend 50 to 65% of their overall budgets on
On
staff.
salary, I realize that.
And so certainly if for some reason the board, say for example, and I would hope this would not be the case, but let's say if the board, for example, said, not only do we want to not do a 0% increase, we want to actually ask less, I would have to go back and look at that and maybe then say, maybe I can't do a 2.5 increase, salary increase pool, maybe I would have to do a 1.5%, or maybe, there's been years, both at this library and other libraries I've been at, where we've not given salary increases at all, or made any salary adjustments. So that's a decision in terms that the board will make in terms of where the budgeting priorities are and where we want to put those monies.
So, okay.
So I mean, the salaries aren't,
They're not affected by the grants or the levies.
It usually
And it shouldn't be.
grant, exactly. I mean, unless it's the per capita grant, and we can always, earmark some of that towards, not usually salaries, they don't, typically it doesn't go towards salaries, the per capita grant, but it can go towards things like, continuing education, that sort of thing. But salaries are usually funded by your levy.
If by some crazy fluke, never mind, it's not important. I'm somewhere else. You can continue.
Okay, so that was the salary line. So like I said, I think,